Good morning, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, g'day mate, and marapan. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to episode 53 of the podcast Each One Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM. An inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is part of every day for every kid. We all will learn together how to build a STEM culture. Today, I'm very elated to have Mr. Jarvis Smith, who has made it his life's mission to educate himself and others on how to live more sustainably. After studying with the female shaman, indigenous to the UK for over a decade, in 2007, on Channel's 4's TV show Dumped, his eyes were opened to the vast devastation human lifestyle waste was having on the planet. His first magazine, Green, was published in the National Geographic in 2008, which then moved to the Guardian in 2010, evolving into the My Green Pod magazine in 2013. It's my honor to have you here, Mr. Jarvis. So, how are you doing today?
I'm very, very well. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's very timely because we're just in the third day of the COP27 negotiations. So it feels very special to be talking to you today.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here again. So, our audience are eagerly waiting to know more about you and what you're doing right now, and some upcoming projects for your side for people across the world. So, we'd love to know about that.
Okay, cool. So, well, I mean, one of the main things that we do consistently is we publish the UK's leading ethical lifestyle magazine. So it's called My Green Pod, and it gets distributed. It was distributed with the Guardian for over a decade, and now it gets distributed into our local supermarket, Sainsbury's stores. It goes to every member of Parliament, all the House of Lords. It goes to commercial offices. It goes to lots and lots of brand partners, and it reaches about 8 million people here in the UK, which is a big number. So that's a regular thing that we do. And then I also run an ethical shopping platform, which is a disruptor to something like Amazon. We only sell toxic-free, curated products that meet our very high standard of values. So that is available at mygreenpod.com. And lastly, but by no means least, we also run the UK's leading sustainability awards. It's now in its 12th year, where we honour individuals, real people doing amazing things that are ambassadors and champions for our planet, and they're basically changing the world. And we honour them with an award ceremony each year. And aside from that, I've recorded a podcast series with Fujitsu. We do a regular podcast series ourselves, which is My Green Pod. And I'm pretty busy all the time. I'm also a father, and I've got my own children to look after, and my wife is my business partner. So I'm pretty busy.
That sounds really cool to me. They're talking about My Green Pod and the magazines. And personally, I must say, I had seen all about mygreenpod.com, and I really love the idea of sustainability and how you're selling things that are all talking about sustainability because it's really important, especially these days when we're talking about the SDG goals as well. Because, when we are taking forward such ideas, they are the key to a better future. So I was really fascinated seeing all the ideas that you have come up with.
Yeah, thank you. That's very kind of you. But you're absolutely right. Most people want to live more sustainably, and say 90% of the population wants to live sustainably, but possibly only 10 or 15% have actually acted. Why is that? Because they don't really know what to do, and therefore they continue to do what they're used to doing. So the fact that you've used the word the keys to unlock the door for the way that most of us want to live, because we know we have to. I'm glad you recognize that. Thank you.
That sounds really great, Mr. Jarvis. So I want to ask you that what is the inspiration behind My Green Pod Nature TV?
Okay, so Nature TV. Well, as you know, the whole world went into lockdown when we had the COVID-19 pandemic. And within a very short space of time, certainly in the UK, some people were only allowed to leave their house for an hour a day to go for a walk. And everybody was advised to stay indoors and keep themselves to themselves so that this virus couldn't spread any more than it was spreading. So we did a little bit of research, and we worked out through working with a scientist around mental health that actually, if people were able to connect with nature in their own homes, then that would have nearly as greater effect as people going out for a walk in nature. So we decided to go out and film 3 pieces of nature, and make it a bit humorous as well, make it a bit fun. And so we recorded a rock. We had the camera on a rock for 2 hours, just on this rock. We had a camera on a brook just flowing, and we had a camera on some sheep in a field again for 2 hours. We recorded this, and then we put them online, and we encourage people to be able to, whilst they're working or having their Zoom meetings or whatever it might be, to have nature on the screen with them, so that they were always able to connect with nature while they were tied to their homes and screens. So that's what Nature TV was all about. And it was hugely successful. We had tens of thousands of people streaming our 2 hour films of rocks and sheep and books. So it was very, very successful. And it's still available now. If you go to mygreenpod.com/nature TV, you can still use those films of nature today.
That's really significant. I really love the idea of people connecting with nature because nature is all around us and we need to connect with it because I personally am a nature lover and like every holiday that we have during summer holidays or winter holidays, me and my family always like tend to go near the mountains or near the lakes because the relaxing feeling that you get with being around nature is surreal. And I really love the idea of filming nature like a rock for 1 hour or a brook or sheep and then connecting that video in the Zoom and watching it. That basically gives you a stress relief as well. So
Yeah.
that's really inspirational.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, thank you. So please do have a look. And what we asked everybody, what's your favourite film? And I must say, The Rock, which you would think was perhaps the least inspiring, was actually the nation's favourite.
That sounds so great. So my next question for you, Mr. Jarvis, is like today's youth, they're very aware about the problems that they're facing in society when it comes to nature, or they can very much understand how to practice sustainable living because all these topics are being covered in the curriculum as well in the classroom. So, what advice would you give to the children to begin a ripple effect?
Okay, great. Well, I mean, firstly, I don't think I could really be able to offer advice to young people because I think young people are our future. They are the generations that's born into this time that we are noticing that is chaotic around the climate. And actually, the education that you guys are getting from the schools and from the knowledge that's available to you through the news and everything else actually is part of your consciousness. Whereas us older ones, there wasn't a serious issue around the climate crisis, 15, 20 years ago. It wasn't a mainstream issue. So the only advice I could give is that we've obviously learned a little bit in terms of how we can begin to mitigate some of the issues around the climate crisis. But I would say to the young people, please continue to challenge every adult that you believe is making a problem and not part of a solution. That's the only advice I could offer is keep doing what you're doing and keep challenging us old uns to make the decisions that you need in order for you to have a sustainable future.
That I must say that's really inspirational because I've been able to see that around myself as well because when we as the young change makers want to bring out solutions, there might be some adults who tend to make some problems because of the old age thinking. But if we have the willpower to change something, we must believe in that and keep on continuing on that path, because we have a team of many change makers, like young change makers who are on the same path. So we can connect with them and help each other. That will, I believe, help a lot to make a ripple effect to achieve the goals that we want to achieve.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think that, young people today are way more savvy and clever and, and tuned in to the needs of society today. So we need to support you and learn from you and try and be, with a bit of wisdom perhaps that we might have, or possibly more resources because we've been in the world a bit longer, that type of stuff, and just support you as much as we possibly can.
So, my next question for you, Mr. Jarvis, is how can educators encourage students to think sustainably through STEM education?
Oh, that's a new term to me.
Right. So it's all about, how we have science linked with technology, with engineering and maths. So I wanted to ask from you, how do you think that educators can encourage students to think sustainably through this kind of education?
Oh, well, I mean, firstly, it's a new term, so it just shows how old I am that I don't even recognize that term. But it sounds as if there's obviously lots of science and lots of data that is actually showing us the issues around the climate crisis. So I think that, in a very basic response, because I'm not very clued up in this particular area, I think that if, like we saw in the pandemic, everybody followed what we were being asked to do because the science was proving that if we responded in a way that the science was giving us proof, then it would have an effect. So I think that needs to be exactly the same situation with the climate crisis. The science is showing the potential catastrophic damage that will occur if we continue moving forward in the way that we are. So we need to be able to, our educators need to be able to use that science to show, true valuable data, so that it also shows that if we do change our habits, then it will have a positive effect.
I totally agree with that. And that's really considerable. You're talking about how educators should show signs that it's really important to analyze the data. And also, I believe that, sustainability to STEM education will encourage, global changes in knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes as well, while we're empowering and equipping the current as well as the upcoming generations to meet their needs. So it's important that we use things sustainably and also link them with whatever we're studying in the classroom as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. So I have a fun question for you. So during your holidays, which is your favorite place to be near the nature?
Okay. Well, I live in a fantastic area of the world called North Yorkshire. So it's in the upper part of the UK, kind of, before you get up to Scotland. And the land here is really, really beautiful. So I'm very lucky that I'm able to go and swim in the lakes and in the rivers here. I'm able to walk up and down, small mountains, big hills, and I'm able to be outside in nature as much as possible. So, firstly, on a weekend we will always go and do that. I do cold water immersion, so I try and get in the water, in the natural water, every week. Even if it's frozen on top, I'll smash the ice off and get in and have a cold water immersion. So that's a real opportunity to deeply connect with nature, because you're challenging all of your physical senses by doing that. And then if I'm to travel abroad, then I mean I'm part Indian, so India to me is my spiritual home. It's the place that I feel the most alive, and I feel the most connected, and I love the sun and the food and the people.
That's so great. So you've been to India. What's your favorite place in India?
Well, many, but I think if I had to name one, I'd probably say the south of Goa.
Oh, that's so. I know, it's really pretty. I've been there once with my family. So it's really pretty, like seeing the beaches and the sunset. It's so great.
It
So
is.
if
It
you
is.
come
It's
to
lovely.
India again, we would love to take you to the mountains as well. Like there's this place called Manali, then we have Leh Ladakh, and we have the full snow-covered mountains. And I believe like being near the mountains is the best way we can connect with nature as well. And like full mountains covered with trees, snow, the best feeling ever.
Yeah, lovely. And is that where you live?
Yes, I live in India, but I live in the lower part of the mountains, it's near the northwestern. So it's
Yeah.
Ludhiana, Punjab.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, my father is originally from the Punjab.
Oh, that's
So
great.
my dad was actually my dad was born in Africa because through the partition his family were asked to leave
Oh,
India, but they originate from just near Jalundra, a village just
oh,
near
Jalandhar.
Jalundra.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes. I've been there. Right.
great.
That sounds so good that you know about things in India. That's so great.
Yeah, my wife and I, we lived in Bombay or Mumbai as it's called now,
Mhm.
for 2 years, and we actually set up our business, My Green Pod, whilst we were living in Mumbai.
Right. Sounds so great. So, like, when we have STEM-based environmental education, it's all about like using STEM and then talking about things happening in the environment. For example, it comes to climate change or taking up workshops or seminars or providing hands-on learning to students about, what they have to do to save the nature or how they can give their bit as well. So our school has taken up many activities as well for every class, and like whenever it is near Earth Day, not just Earth Day, but every month we have one kind of activity, whether it is like tree plantation or it is collecting plastic bags and then recycling them. So when we're involving STEM with the environmental education, that is one of the coolest activities that can be done in the school. So have you ever tried any of the like environmental based activities, like for your people around you or for any workshop that you've conducted?
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So it's like an experiential education process. So, I mean, look, we as an organisation, we value ourselves on being educators because actually education is possibly the most important part. I think when people realise and feel educated enough when it comes to sustainability, then they'll very, very, very quickly respond because they understand it. So the education is fundamentally important. We've been involved in educating a nation, I suppose. I mean, we started our business originally with National Geographic back in 2009. And at that time, very, very few people were talking about the sustainability issues, which we now know is a climate crisis.
Right.
So I would very much say we've been involved in education, and actually, I guess the knowledge that we've been putting out is really about encouraging people to live the experience. And one of the examples is every time you shop with us, we will plant a tree in the tropics, which has 10 times more mitigation capabilities than planting a tree in Europe, for example. So we're educating everybody as they engage with us. Slightly different to your STEM process, but equally as important for us, for the grown-ups.
Right. That sounds so good. And I personally, when you're talking about like your project as well for My Green Pod, that is a really great example when it comes to, environmentally connecting with nature and seeing sustainability and, going ahead for sustainability as well. So again, like I'll for sure put that in my description box for everybody to check out. And go ahead and see all your products and purchase them.
Yeah, thank you. They are only available to people in England, I'm afraid. So if this is going out globally, we haven't yet launched the platform internationally. So, but
No
if you're ever in the
problem.
UK, then please come and shop with us.
Sure, and we'll wait for the global as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, in the end, I would like to ask you that where can we find you online? And we would love to have a message from you for the audience watching us.
Okay, fantastic. So, well, you can find me, you can find the platform at mygreenpod.com. You can find me at jarvissmith.com. I've got obviously all the social media handles. So all of the platforms are simply My Green Pod. And then I'm also a signed recording artist, and we've released a song to raise money for Greta Thunberg's MAPPA, which is the most affected people in areas. So, of course, it's young people that are in, predominantly in the global south, in Africa, in India, and various other countries around the world. And so you can find that music. It's called Save the World by Jarvis Smith. So if any of your listeners would like to play that record, every 100% of the revenue generated for the artist from the plays will be donated to Greta Thunberg's Fridays for Futures MAPPA. So there's some areas that you can find me and what I'm up to. And the message that I would love to give is I would love to say, please use all of your youthful, creative, powerful voice and insight to what it's like to be a young person, and keep prodding and poking and waking up the older generations so that they take notice of you, so that we can work together to deal with the biggest issue of humanity's time, which we now know is a climate crisis. So just keep badgering us and keep not shouting at us, but making yourself heard so that we listen and we act accordingly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jarvis. Those influencing words of yours have surely motivated all our listeners. And listening to you today and you talking about nature has reminded me of this thing that on earth there is no heaven, but there are pieces of it, and that is nature. So thank you
Yeah.
so much being on for coming on my podcast, sharing your lovely insights, and it was a true honor to have you here.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. I love what you've said. That's a beautiful way of saying it. And remember that nature is everywhere. Even the clothes that we wear, the toast that we eat in the morning, what we wash our hair with, everything comes from nature. So you can always be in praise of nature in every action that you take. So thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you
Namaste.
so much. Namaste. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us and listening to this episode. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, each one, teach 10. Have a nice day.